take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
I'm a human being, god damn it! My life has value! It's time to ask yourself what you believe.
Mass murder, torture, perjury, embezzlement, fraud, deception, treason. These are just a few of your many crimes against humanity. You will not win this war, for you are fighting the very essence of humanity.
Talk, I'm April Boden.
And I'm Virstyne Henry.
Please check out our website at truthertalk.com. You can see all our archive shows, essays, etc., etc. So, hey, we have a special show for you guys today. Virstyne, we're going to be talking to Neal Fox. This is a first. I don't think we've had a musician on the show before, have we?
I know, right?
I don't think we've had a professional musician. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
We've had some artists before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had artists. Yeah. I mean, many of the people we have on our show are multifaceted. They're artists as well as they might be journalists and have a podcast and do all these other things. They're also artists. Like Liam, he dabbles in fiction writing, and he also dabbles in art and things like that. Well, I shouldn't say dabble. I mean, he just does it all, kind of. But he's also a journalist. And then we had Joy Camp on. They were one of our early buddies that we had in very early on, and they have their great, awesome videos and that they do. They're short films. But a musician, I'm struggling. I can't think of any. So this is the first time.
Max Egan. Sorry, Max Egan.
Max Egan's a musician. He's also a podcaster like us, but he's a professional musician. Yeah. And good, right?
Okay, yes.
I remember.
Technically, we have had a musician on because Max Egan is a musician, but we haven't had him. He didn't really talk about his music. I don't think a lot of people know about Max Egan. I think during the break or before we were recording, off air, we were talking about music, and I think we were having some technical difficulties, and April had to get off the line. And then Max and I started talking about music while we were waiting for April to get back on the line, and he actually played guitar for me, and he's amazing. He's amazing.
I remember that. You were like, oh, my God, you missed it. It was the bomb.
Yeah.
He was awesome. And I was like, oh, man. Yeah, because we were having all these technical problems. And it seems that happens whenever we talk to Max for some reason. But, that was really funny. I was like, oh, no, that would have been awesome.
Like, damn it.
That would have been great. But Neal's stuff is really good, and he writes about all these things that all his original material. He's been a musician for a really long time, and he has, I'm going to play a little bit of his music during the break so you guys can hear it, but I wanted to give you guys a little sampling of it. And some of his songs are free on the YouTube. You can watch he does music videos, and he's written all the material. He's done, so he's just done the work. He and his wife and his partners and everybody that he works with. But yeah, he's multi-talented and really, really good. Yeah. He writes about all the stuff that we talk about on our show: vaccines, the New World Order, the Federal Reserve. He has songs about all that stuff, so it's really, really cool.
It's very humanist. It's very fitting, and it's a good way to get people to open up and talk about these things. Kind of like Joy Camp does too. They use art, they use acting, and they do skits, to relay this information. But, when people watch this stuff, they'll end up looking, some people will like, they'll look it up later. They'll wonder about something. They're like, I wonder if that's true. I'm going to see what I can find about, on this subject. Or, they'll, maybe they won't get it right away, or they might not be curious right away, but maybe later on down the line they might have another incident where somebody else mentions it, and then they're like, I've heard about that before. I heard about that when I watched that movie with the song in it, and maybe this is what they were talking about. So I think art is a tremendously important way to open up people's minds and also their subconscious. I mean, you can arguably say that the subconscious is part of the mind, but I mean, like, I would say consciously and subconsciously. It's a really good way to open up people to, all this information, because as we always talk about, it's really hard to take at first. Ultimately it's empowering, but I think when you first come across it, it's really, it's jarring, and it's, you're asking people to change their paradigm. Which is like a very, especially for some people more than others, a very earth-shattering thing to do. So if you can give it to them in the form of like a song or an art piece or a skit, it's easier to digest. What is that? Is that Oscar Wilde quote that goes, you better tell, if you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh or they'll kill you. I know I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. That's what that is.
But it's true. It's very true. And I think this is another reason why the Illuminati is really up in Hollywood, because they know how powerful it is. They know how powerful art and music is. This is one of the reasons that they want to get it out of school and just focus on math and science and and to take all of the art out. There's been this drive to like get art and music out of schools. And
right, for sure.
Which has been terrible. Like, I don't know what I personally would have done had I not had those things. And I love science. I'm not saying, that science and math are bad. Of course they're necessary. But when you're just adding science and math, and you're basically pushing people into a left brain state of mind, and you're not allowing them to be a whole brain. And in that sense, you're not allowing people to think critically and think, see the grander scope of things and to use their emotions. You're shutting them off. It's really, you're making them into robots. So. Right.
Yeah, it's true. It's part of the transhumanism program. Trying to make people into robots and not have a soul. Because that stuff gives you your soul, and it gives you your identity and helps you find out who you are and stuff as a person when you use art and philosophy and music and all of these things. But I really like that approach as well, how he does that and how Joy Camp does that, because I think it makes it palpable for people. It's like, even, a satire on Saturday Night Live when they did that one about the Gardasil vaccine that was really funny.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah. I mean, they're just, even that, it's just a subtle way of showing people the ridiculousness of it all. And people can kind of laugh at that and go, God, yeah, that is pretty ridiculous. They are trying so hard to give these kids these vaccines younger and younger and younger that they're even going to put one in a baby doll, and give it to 6-year-olds. And, your Gardasil doll, and you take it home, and all of a sudden it's like, gives you a jab. I mean,
I wouldn't even put it past them to do some shit like that, honestly.
Right, I know, and that's the beauty of it, is that you use satire like that because it's not that far-fetched. And we always talk about stand-up comics because they're the prophets of our time, and as Oscar Wilde probably was aware of back then too, and that is that they'll drop truth bombs all day long, but people still laugh. Sometimes I think they laugh out of feeling kind of uncomfortable with the truth and with the knowledge more than that it's actually funny. But it's something about that is approachable. It's something about George Carlin or about I don't know, Eddie Griffin or any of these people, or Cat Williams, who can drop truth bombs on you and you're like, whoa. But then it's real, but they're doing it in such a funny way. It makes it palpable, and the audience stays, they don't walk out of offense because you've said to them, you've given them like a 2-hour documentary on the dangers of vaccines. They're going to walk away from you, or they're not even going to bother, But if you do like a 5-minute satire, then it's a little more palpable. People have to kind of relax and not take themselves so seriously, But so this is really great. I'm glad that people are doing this. I was really excited to hear about Neal and his work. I'm so glad that he's make it on our show. So so hopefully,
if any of our listeners come across any other artists that you see would be fitting to the subject matter that we talk about, please write us and let us know, because either through Facebook, or you can find our contact info on our website at truthertalk.com, because we really would love to get more artists on the show, for sure.
Yeah. After when we come back and do our next round of interviews, and we're actively pursuing more people to interview, I really want to hit that hard.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. So if you have anybody that you would like us to interview, that even if it's somebody who's independent and they're not with any brand or doing any label, but they're doing this kind of material in their garage or their basement or they're on their computer, whatever, like, let us know, because we want to put that out there and just engage those conversations, because it's fun and it's just underappreciated in our movement. And it's hard, like you said, you give people these 2-hour documentaries or give them all these papers to read, they just kind of blow you off. This stuff it hits the subconscious, it hits you on a subconscious level and helps you identify the ridiculousness of it all. Because it's all kind of absurd when you think about it. It's like you can't even take it too serious. But even serious art can do that as well. If it's an art piece that's cutting, and I mean, because Neal's, most of his stuff is with humor, but he does have a serious song in there, I think, and maybe one or two. And his DVD, you can go check it out. Check him out on YouTube. You go to YouTube, Neal Fox. I think it's NealFox, Neal Fox, and just look up his stuff. I'm sure you'll like it. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff that he has. He's a good musician. He's been doing it for a long time, and
I think he did.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, you didn't go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, though, I think he did jingles for a living for a while. So I'm interested to get his take on that, because now we know, with all the stuff about all the chemicals and preservatives and all the fast food and junk food and stuff, they're basically marketing poison to people. So, I think about that often now, when I was pursuing acting. And I was, auditioning for commercials, and I'm actually glad I never got one of those big commercials, because I think we talked about it, like McDonald's and Gap and like Coke and like all the major companies. Everybody, all the actors, like, wanted to book a commercial because they paid like a shitload of money. So. Not that I have friends that have been cast in those commercials, and I don't judge them for it at all. I don't make them feel bad about it. I don't think that they're bad people. But I just think, just knowing myself, I probably would have been harder on myself, having been cast in something like that. Yeah. I would be like, oh, no, I did a Coke commercial. I'm going to burn it out. But I want to look, you know what I mean? But as an actor, too, you got to pay the bills. You got to do what you got to do. I'm just hard on myself. Like, I forgive other people for that. And they probably don't know the level of information that I know, and have put the time into researching this. So I don't blame them or make them feel bad about it or at all.
No. It's not about us judging, but it's just, it's an interesting turn. I mean, if you're doing work like that and you're making all that kind of money, and then all of a sudden you want to go and start writing songs about the New World Order, it's like, it's an interesting turn, because I would expect it more from young up-and-coming artists who weren't in the business and weren't making all kinds of money, but this guy was, so he actually had to make a conscious decision to go the other to say, I'm not going in this direction anymore, I want to switch gears and go into another direction. So I'm real excited to ask him, motivated him to do that, and how that's been going for him. What's that like?
Yeah, it takes a lot of guts. I want to though get to the point where you were making a lot of money. You're like, okay, I'm gonna save for a few more months and then I'm gonna quit, instead of just, you know what I mean? At least I have a nest egg before I quit.
Yeah, right.
With Clint Richardson, I don't know if he did exactly that, but I know that he did that too as a sound. Was he a sound engineer or sound designer with video games and stuff? And
yeah, I think he was a sound engineer, and he told me that his last thing that he was working on when he quit was, or the last thing that he did was, or maybe he declined the job. I can't remember, but it was like the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, was when they hired him to do Resident Evil, the video game. And he was just like, I can't, like, it's just demonic and gross and weird, and he just couldn't do it. So, because I think he was starting to recognize how when they play all that, like, dark, evil, like, and what did he say when he was on our show, that it was actually, those screams and things are actually the sounds of people killing pigs. You know, they'll record the sound
pigs
of
getting
torturing
castrated.
Yeah, pigs getting castrated, the torturing the animals, and then put that in monster movies and put that in video games and things like that. And so, you know, it's really weird and creepy. Yeah, but he's just like, yeah, I was just done with that, and had to walk away from it. And I think we've known some other people in our circles who have walked away from Hollywood as well, just by conscious, just can't do it anymore. And you know, and it can be heartbreaking in a way, because if you want to be in the business and that's where the money's at, but you can't devote the amount of time as an independent person, because then you have to keep a day job, and you might hate your day job, you know? Yeah. So you want to be able to practice your art and make a living on it, but it's not always possible if you want to keep your conscience. So these are tough questions and tough things that, you know, only you can decide for yourself. Yeah. It's not anything that, you know, I'm certainly not going to judge or tell anybody what to do. Hell no. Sure. I wouldn't, you know, because I can't.
It's a horrible position to be in, you know.
Yeah, it's just, exactly. And I couldn't say what I would do given the circumstance, you know. I mean, I got kids to feed, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I might just do a Coke commercial and be like, what? Kids, you know, sign me up for Kickstarter. Let's get it going. I'll do more shows for free. Get me some money. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I would have to really consider that very seriously. But yeah, so this is great. We're going to have him, and I want to get, what I was going to say too, we've had we play clips sometimes from stand-up comics. Sometimes we have to remove those because of copyright stuff, and, you know, those things seem to get flagged on YouTube. So we used to play those a lot, but we don't do it as much anymore. But, because they're more strict about that these days. But anyway, I want to get, like, some interviews of those people, though. I really, really do. So please, I'm just going to put that out in the universe, and I hope that happens. If you know any stand-up comics that are truthers and truth bombers, which there are a lot of them, there tend to be more in that field of art than there is in other fields for some reason. And
because they have to observe.
Send them our way. Yeah.
You know, so on the subject of people in Hollywood, have you ever seen the movie Searching for Deborah Winger?
No, but you've told me about it a few times.
Oh my God, I know, I love this movie. I've probably told you about it more than a few times, but I might even mention it on the show. But you know Deborah Winger, the actress that was famous in the 80s, right?
Oh yeah.
She was in, I think it was like Urban Cowboy. I haven't seen that one, but Officer and a Gentleman, in Terms of Endearment, and I think that she just hit success really fast.
Yeah,
and she and then after she became successful, like after a few movies, she just like disappeared. And people were like, "Dang, what happened to Deborah Winger?" So I think it was either the Arquette sisters, either of them as a duo, or it was also Rosanna Arquette did a documentary talking about like what happened to her, and through the whole documentary, they're interviewing actors in Hollywood and talking about what it's like to be an actress in Hollywood and all the stuff that they have to go through and all the degrading stuff. Even the A-list actresses, you know, just how much pressure they're under and everything. And I think Deborah Winger, so they finally got to Deborah Winger, and they were like, why did you leave and just drop out, you know, of Hollywood in the prime of your career? You know, you could have lasted longer, you know, why did you do it? And she was basically just talking about, like, she couldn't take the morality of the business being a woman. And she felt it was, like, wearing on her so consciously, and she had to get out before she, like, lost herself, basically. So, yeah. Fascinating. Yeah, it's like Ryan and Whoopi Goldberg and other actresses you've probably seen here. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, that's an interesting documentary, and I've never seen it. You've mentioned it all these times, but I've always been curious to go check it out, because I remember Deborah Winger, and when you brought it up, I was like, yeah, what did happen to Deborah Winger? Like, they're like searching for Deborah Winger. I was like, yeah, what did happen to that chick? Because she was really big in the 80s, and she was a good actress. And then I remember seeing her in something more recent, but it was a small role. It was very small. And I thought, whoa, what's she doing? You know, whatever happened to that chick? Like, she looks great. You know, why would she have stopped? But yeah, it's interesting. She just was too conscious of things. And when people say that, you know, it's so demeaning and it's so like draining and things like that. And then the things that we know about Hollywood being even seedier and dark like that. Sometimes, you know, you got to wonder, are they even aware of some of that stuff? And they're just like, they're not going to say that, but they're just like, I'm out. You know, I'm not going to say nothing because I don't want to get killed, but I'm out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as like people coming up talking about like satanic and stuff, I don't think that happens all over Hollywood. I think that happens maybe in certain circles in Hollywood. You know, and then maybe it kind of filters down in other ways without being directly linked to certain actors and actresses. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So maybe if you're like an A-list actor or actress, then you'll have a certain set of hoops and to jump through than you are if you're like a B-list or C-list actor or actress. You know?
Yeah, no, I would agree. It would be impossible for them to just have everybody in a satanic cult, every single person. I just can't imagine on that scale, you know. It's like with the vaccine industry, they go, you know, is everybody in on it? No, of course not, because is like the technician that draws your blood at the clinic? No, you know, like all these people aren't in on it. But there is a certain level of high clearance, shall you say, or high ups that do kind of know certain things. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing out there, audience, too. We've been wanting to do a show on this. We're going to do a show on Halloween to talk about some scary movies in Hollywood and some of this kind of stuff. But you know, I'd like to do, you know, another show or two on that. And there was a guy on our network that I was listening to the other day because I came in to pull out our show from archive, and somebody was playing, and I asked who the guest was, but nobody knew the name of the guest, but he was talking about symbolism in Hollywood, and he doesn't get into the whole cult Illuminati, like he said that on the show. He was like, I don't know anything about that, I don't really get into that, but I do know I've studied symbolism, and I can tell you, you know, what a lot of this stuff has symbolic messages. You know, I've studied the history and the meanings of symbolism. And he was talking about the movie Back to the Future and how there was all this symbolism in Back to the Future, and I was like, whoa, that's a trip. And I couldn't listen to the whole show.
It's weird.
Go ahead.
I want to cut you off a minute just because I want to ask you. So it's a little bit confusing for me because I think it's like the symbolism, from what I understand about it so far, it kind of opens you up. But it depends on the message that's being sent, you know, to the person, right? Or to the people.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, we were on Storycam, watching one of the videos on YouTube, we saw, like, in the comments, and these guys are like, oh, you guys have turned to the dark side, and you're using Illuminati symbolism, and you're like, hold on, dude, it's just like, you know, they're doing satire. Just because they use the pyramid and certain, it depends on what they're doing with symbolism, as far as I, you know, understand. Because we know that they're not, you know what their intentions are. We're friends of theirs, so you know, it's a bit weird too. It's annoying too. There are people, just because you have a triangle in your video, or you have like one of those necessarily, that you're like, you know, you jump to the conclusion that they're automatic Satan worshippers. You know, it's just that it gets a little bit ridiculous. Or Longhorns, like I didn't know that Longhorns, and who knows, Longhorn Satanism could be connected. Longhorn sign in Texas, I didn't know that. Like Monday happens to also be the satanic symbol. Because my friend was doing that, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, it's the Longhorns, it's the Longhorns. So a lot of people might be doing that. And then there might be another aspect, too, where you do those sign symbols, and you're still sending energy to that unwittingly. I don't know all of that yet. That's something, you know, I'm still, like, you're kind of researching and learning about. But
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, people can use symbolism in many different ways, and there are some movies that have a ton of symbolism, and it's supposed to represent, one thing or another, but it's really funny. People who make those comments about Joint Camp, the unfortunate thing is a lot of people don't understand satire these days. Like, people don't get it. I don't know what it is that people take things so literal.
It's a vacuum.
Yeah, it's shocking. It really does, because it seems to be perennial. I notice that when you tell a joke, sometimes people think it's serious, or they just don't. They don't get your gist. But I don't know. But yeah, you can use it either way. Like who was it? Oliver Stone did a film about football, and there was all this Illuminati symbolism in the film. And I remember when Sean Stone, his son, and we had Sean on our show twice, and he was on Alex Jones doing an interview. He had asked him about it. We never did. I don't know. It just never came up. We never talked about his father's films. But Alex Jones asked him about it, and he said, his dad didn't really know about. He didn't really think he knew that much about the Illuminati, or even really followed it, or maybe wasn't even sure if he had ever even heard of it. But it was just sort of, he was tapping in maybe to the collective unconscious of like what people are thinking about, and that's how it got in there, because he was like, I don't think he's really aware of it in the way that you think he is. He's just probably kind of tapping into that. Maybe he knows more now, but this was years ago.
Yeah.
And before, when Sean was probably still young and not, doing shows and things like that yet. But so I don't know. Sometimes it's just an unconscious thing. They might not even be aware of it, or it could be production designers. It could be, people in the program, and you have no clue what symbolism is out there as the director, or as, the actor, or whatever. You might have no clue whatsoever. But then some people in there do, and they're deliberately putting it in there. So it's fascinating topic, and certainly something I would be curious to know a little bit more about. I'm not going to jump into the huge, this is what symbolism is rabbit hole. I ain't going to do that, y'all, because I just don't have the time. But I do find it fascinating. I do find it interesting, and I think it would be interesting to know a little bit more about that. So if you guys know the name of that person, I guess that was on, I think it was Unlock the Door. Maybe I'll reach out to the host and ask him. But that would be kind of cool, because I'd like to know a little bit more about that. And we want to do some more shows about this stuff, and definitely talk to some more artists and stand-up comics. I'd like to interview Doug Stanhope. I'd like to interview Cat Williams. I'd like to interview Eddie Griffin. Any less famous comedians out there that are doing this kind of material, let us know, because I eat it up. I eat it up, y'all. I eat it up. I love stand-up comedy. I love it, love it, love it. I want to interview Louis C.K., of course, but that's really reaching for the stars. So, he doesn't.
You got Rob Schneider. You never know.
That's true. We did talk to Rob Schneider, y'all. If you don't know, you should go back and listen to our archive show. We did talk to him. He wasn't funny on the show. He was very intelligent and very serious.
Yeah.
He was quite shockingly smart, but and I don't say that because I'm a snob and he's a comedian, so I just assumed he.
You're a snob.
I had no idea that he had done so much research on vaccines, because that was what we talked to him about, and I didn't know he was so aware. Sometimes people, well, especially the celebrities, come out and they give it that kind of middle of the road, like, well, I'm not anti-that. He was just done. He was like, nope, this shit's dangerous. Don't even try it. Blah blah blah. He knew everything. I was like, damn. Yeah. So it was surprising how much he knew about it and how far he had taken it. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But anyway, so I think we're going to take a short break. I'm going to play some of Neal's stuff in the interim, and then when we get back, we have Neal Fox for you. So stay with us.
one thing was all too true. There was a cancer in the land that wants to bury me and you. They grabbed all the wealth and bought themselves a throne and cracked an evil whip like the world has never known. But the centuries passed and the people said no more, and liberty at last came to even up the score. An idea grew and its time had finally come. Liberty and justice had its day in the sun. We got the solutions for problems we create. We'll take the confusions and wipe them off your plate. You'd never believe that, you couldn't conceive that. From presidents down to clerks, just one of the perks. We get to control you, 'cause this is how the game works. One fine day in a new and fertile land, a group of patriots were brave enough to take a stand. They put forth an idea that raised us to new heights, that the country serves man and man has got his rights. Now 200 years have passed and this freedom served them well, but the cancer never left. They devised a plan from hell, just like a game of dominoes falling to the ground. The only way to win, bring America down. We got the solutions for problems we create. We'll take the confusions and wipe them off your plate. You'd never believe that, you couldn't conceive that. From presidents down to clerks, just one of the perks. We get to control you, 'cause this is how the game works. Save us from a world that's torn apart. We'll give you all our money, we'll give to you our hearts. If liberty and freedom is the price we have to pay, it's worth it just to see our children live another day. So save us, save us. You gotta save us, save us. Lesson 1, to make a free people willing to obey and happily give all their rights away. You've got to convince them that they're under attack, killing thousands of your own and blame it on a maniac. They'll beg you to save them, their rights you can waive them, convince them all their danger lurks. Just one of those perks. They get to control you, 'cause this is how the game works. Save us from a world that's torn apart. We'll give you all our money, we'll give to you our hearts. If liberty and freedom is the price we have to pay, it's worth it just to see our children live another game. So save us, save us.
Will you tell the American people to whom you lent $2.2 trillion of their dollars? No.
Hello, thanks for having me on your radio. Even though we're not from a famous rock and roll band, if we were, even though we sound a little like we are, we'd definitely wear a Conspiracy Realist t-shirt, because they're gear, aren't they? Oh yeah, they're really gear. I want to write a song about them. Conspiracy Realist t-shirts at truthertees.com. I gotta think of the middle eight. Shop.truthertees.com. What does that mean? It's the internet. What's that? I don't know. It's a net. It's between things. Shop.truthertees.com. What's that? It's where you get Conspiracy Realist t-shirts. Oh, gear.
Back. Thanks for listening to Truth Through Talk. Today we're talking to Neal Fox. Neal is an award-winning composer, filmmaker, artist, and activist. In the 1970s, he had a recording deal of Polydor, RCA, and Columbia Records. He had 2 singles on the Billboard charts and a top 10 dance club hit. As a partner in a successful music production company, he wrote and produced jingles for hundreds of commercials and promos for all the major networks, including NBC, MTV, and VH-1. He also wrote TV themes for programs such as CBS Evening News with Dan Rather, and co-scored Killer Tomatoes movie, which became a cult classic. Now Neal releases his own CDs and wins awards for his low-budget music videos and films. His intention has always been to use his art to make a difference in the world. His specialty is social commentary, and he is known for saying the things that need to be said. Amen. And that leads us to this unconventional documentary, The Conspiracy Project, which has already been accepted into 4 film festivals with high praise from viewers. You can find the DVD, CD Conspiracy Project at wiredduck.com. Please welcome to the show, Neal Fox. Hey, Neal. Thank you for being on today.
Hey, Neal.
How you doing?
Great. You know, in the bio, you say that you worked in mainstream media. So I'm just curious, did you always have these points of view working in mainstream media, or did they develop over time while you were working on them, or in it?
Actually, I was kind of social commenter from way before I got into the jingle business. When I originally started as a kid, starting writing songs, I was writing things about them burning down the rainforest to put in a road and displacing all the natives that lived there, and things about anti-war songs. In fact, when I was in music college, I was a composition major, and people were writing all these wild concertos and big orchestral things, and I come in with some anti-war song, you know, like, end the war, you know, we got to give peace a chance, and all that kind of stuff. So I was into it a long time ago, but once I got into, as I was growing up, and I got into the jingle biz, which was kind of only because I just fell into it, really. I didn't pursue it. But the money was so good, I kind of had a hard time getting out of it. But the longer I was in it, and I'd find out more and more things about big pharma and about the banks and this and that, and I just kept writing more and more about that and getting more outraged until one day I just said, okay, I don't have enough time to do what I want to do in the jingle biz, which is 7 days a week. So I figured, let me see what happens, and I quit the business about 12 years ago. And the income went through the floor, but I'm having a great time doing what I want to do.
Wow. So I'm just curious, what is the jingle biz like? You said it was 7 days a week. Do you freelance? Do you work with a particular advertising company? Like how does that work?
Well, I was partners with 2 other guys. We were called Patterson, Walls, and Fox, and we would get jobs from ad agencies and TV networks. You know, we would promote ourselves to these people. And they would call up when they have a commercial if they liked our reel, you know, and felt we were good for the job. Sometimes there would be competition. A lot of times, like for the bigger jobs, like if NBC had some kind of this is a while back. I've been out of business for a while, but NBC used to do this thing called must-see TV. I don't know if you guys.
I remember that.
Well,
yeah, I remember that.
We did that for about 2 or 3 years for them, where they would have this whole campaign where they would have music and show little quick things about all their shows, Seinfeld and this one and that one. And we did a lot of the music for that. But they would call us, like, you know, technically it wasn't supposed to be a 7-day-a-week job, but if you get a call like 5:30 on a Friday from NBC that they need some demo by Monday morning, then you just have to do it. You know, you can't turn them down. and it's competitive. So you're many times you're not even getting paid for the demo, but you spend your whole weekend doing the best you can do because it's an important job if you get it.
Yeah, and they don't care in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then,
about your life. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Sure. And then you get it to them, and Monday morning they have a committee look through it and look through all the other people that sent in music. And if they like yours, or if they think yours is good but they like another one, they'll tell you to do another one or change this or that. And that has to get squeezed into all the other things you were supposed to do for Monday anyway from other clients. So it was crazy. I did it for about 15 years, and the money was really good, but I had no time for a life. So and no prediction, just no way to take a vacation or to take a weekend off. It was really, plus sometimes you would end up doing jobs for products you just didn't really believe in, like oil companies or whatever.
Or Coke.
Yeah.
Even though Coke pays really well. I'm imagining, yeah.
We did something for Coke where it was a Christmas thing, because Coke, they got 1 million commercials.
Yeah.
And, it did pay well, and it looked good on our demo reel, so, it helped us get other jobs. And but the more I would find out, eventually I found out enough now that probably if I was in the business, there'd be nobody I could work for.
Yeah, I know, without having a conscience, right? Or about it sitting on your conscience, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pursued acting for a while, and I've had friends that have done McDonald's commercials and Coke commercials and stuff like that, and I really wasn't successful in that arena. But now that I'm out of it and I'm pursuing music now, I'm really grateful, actually, because knowing what I know now, I think I would have had a guilty conscience. I don't judge my friends, though, by the way, too, that do that stuff. But, at the same time, just knowing myself, I'm like, oh, no, I did a commercial for Coke. And that was a commercial that everybody, it was like McDonald's, Coke, Gap, commercials that everybody was really striving for because we knew that they paid really well.
Oh, sure.
And they have a large budget, And
it's almost impossible not to. If it's a big corporation, there's sure to be some kind of an evil history for most of them. One of my first big commercials was for Ford, and it was my first national commercial, and unfortunately, it was for the Ford Pinto. So right after we did the commercial and it was released, the Ford Pinto started blowing up. I don't know if you remember that. It was big news back then. You guys, from the picture I see of you, you look a lot younger than me. So
I remember this.
Yeah.
My grandfather had a Pinto.
I had a Pinto. It always broke down, but
yeah, we had a Pintos always broke down.
Well, they had this trouble with the gas tank. If somebody hit you or something, it would blow up. So they took the commercial off the air, which was, it was my first big paying commercial. But we were trying to get the big ones. I think the straw that broke the camel's back, and you'll see why I use that expression in a minute. We got a call from one of the really big ad agencies in New York to do. They weren't allowed to advertise cigarettes in America anymore at this time. So they wanted to have a 3-minute song geared towards young people. They wanted a hit record, basically, over in Europe and third world countries. So basically, even though they didn't come out and say it, it was to hook kids on smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
So that one I thought.
Well, I was just like, oh, they said it. I was thinking when you said it, I was like, dang, they're getting bold, but they didn't say that.
They didn't say it, but it was so obvious because, the input was geared towards kids. So
yeah,
that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I winked when I said the word camel.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Because I remember those ads as well.
Uh-huh.
And you've been in music for a long time, and you're talking about all this, and it's interesting because I read on your bio that you started when you were 15. And how have you had the drive to stay with it? Have you ever thought about just giving it up when you had to deal with all that and co-commercial and all that, or you just what's been your drive to stay with it?
Well, when I got into the jingle business and the money was good, my goal was never to be in the jingle business. It was to get the money and then be able to quit the business, or at least have some free time to do my own albums and fund them myself. Because I was on Columbia and RCA, as you said, and Polydor back in the 70s. But when you're with major label, you got to pretty much do what they say. I mean, you can put your foot down and say, no, I'm not going to change the song. I'm going to do this and that. And they'll go along with you if you're really adamant about it. But then you got to realize that they're the ones who got to push the product. And if they don't like it or don't like your attitude or whatever, they're just not going to push it so much. So there's a big temptation to go along with whatever they say. And when I was with those guys, I made a lot of concessions. And a lot of things came out far worse than I would have liked it to come out. Let's put it that way. So when I got into the jingle business,
far worse creatively. Okay.
Creatively and the subject matter and what they're going to decide is the single, and we're going to have to cut out this and change that and edit that 5-minute song down to 3 minutes, which I understood at the time. They weren't playing too many 5-minute songs, so some of it was understandable, but. Just from an aesthetic point, and I really kind of was interested in doing it my way, and thought they could still push it even if it wasn't exactly what the last hit record was from so and so, But you do have to buckle down and kind of do what they say, otherwise you're just wasting your time being on a major label. So when I got into the jingle business and I started making some money and had my own studio, I figured, okay, now at least I could record music any way I wanted to in my own studio, pay for the whole thing myself, put it out on my own label on the web, and even if I only sold a handful, at least the product's coming out exactly the way I want it to come out, and if I'm lucky, maybe it'll catch on, and because I'm definitely not great at marketing, although I'm starting to get better at it now, but. That was the theory. So it wasn't like I was in there thinking this is what I lived for, writing commercials. It was I actually hated it. Let's get blunt. I really didn't like it at all. But I mean, sometimes it was fun because it was challenging, and because I had enough money, I would always get the latest synthesizers and recording equipment, and I love that kind of thing. So. That was the fun part for me.
And do you find it liberating now? The technology has changed. It's so easy for anybody to make their own album now if they really know what they're doing, because the technology is so cheap and it's so it's so easy to use. Do you agree? Yeah, it's got good points and bad points. The good point is that anybody can make a record now. What the quality you can get out of a $5,000 investment is the same quality you used to spend $100,000 for, 30 years ago. Yeah.
But of course, you got to learn. You have to wear many more hats. You have to know how to engineer to a certain extent and mix it to a certain extent.
Yeah. Mastering and all that stuff.
Yeah. But the bad side. Well, yeah, I guess it's the bad side.
The bad side is anyone can make a... I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the good side is anyone can make a record. The bad side is anyone can make a record.
Yeah.
But, there's a glut on the market now of so much music. A lot of it's really great. And the value of music has become almost nothing. I mean, artists now have to give away so much for free, and people just don't value the music like they used to. So the whole thing has changed. Now, if you really want to make any money at it, the music is beside the point. You got to play live or give something else along with the music. So unless you're really lucky and you get somebody to put your music in a big movie or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not really a money-making thing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do it for the love of it. But I would like to make money off of it someday. But those are things my partner and I are talking about. Like, we're going to play live. We want to incorporate art and other things too, because you have to have more than just your music, like you said nowadays. So, yeah. I'm curious though, what was your process for this particular project? So did you plan to write a musical, or did the songs come one by one and you're like, damn, this could be a musical, and then you did a musical?
Well, I had, let's see, about 12 years ago, when I got out of the jingle business, I decided to do something that I totally loved besides making single albums. I put on a one-man show called Pigeonholes, which I wrote, which is basically a whole bunch of songs, but along with animation and video. And I hadn't done any video at that point. And my vision for the show was to be up on stage with a huge screen, and I would actually interact with the screen, and I would learn to do animation and do it all in sync, perform the singing and the playing live, but I'd have some backing tracks and be in sync with what's happening on the screen. So I did that in Hollywood and San Diego for a short time. And it took me 3 years to make it, but I had such a ball, and I got such an incredibly great reaction from the videos I was making and the animation. So I started doing more music videos and putting them on YouTube. And, of course, since so many of my songs were either satire or social commentary, I started getting actually a little bit of a following that way. And I did one on the Federal Reserve, which is the only old one that I used in this, the Conspiracy Project film, which was about the Federal Reserve, and it's called, excuse the expression, Fuck the Fed.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I can tell you're shocked. And it got a great reaction.
Sing along. I loved it.
Oh, thanks. And, I used a lot of video and a lot of animation and green screen and all that, and I had a ball doing it, and I did a bunch after that, various similar topics. But at one point I thought, I'm having fun doing this. It's getting a great reaction. I had one video that got, at this point, it's got over 600,000 views, which is not even a music video. It's just like a 12-minute, sort of a mini documentary. But I just love the idea of film. I always and I always was an artist, a painter, and I love animation. So I wanted to be an animator since I was 5 years old. So it was bringing me back, the computer and the kind of stuff, software you can get so cheap nowadays. You can do it all yourself if you got enough time. So,
and they have a Lynda. There's lynda.com now too. You can take classes.
Mm-hmm.
I love that company. I try and promote them. I think they're doing a wonderful thing by making it easy for people to learn how to animate and sound mix and all these other things. So
yeah, it's wonderful. And you could pretty much learn how to do anything if you want to devote some time to it. And so here I was now with film and art, and animation and music and everything that I love. And I thought to myself, the best way to get a message across is using aesthetics, all kinds of aesthetics, because, and of course at the same time I was reading and watching documentaries on the New World Order and the conspiracies and what's going on. And of course 9/11 happened, and I was getting more and more upset by what's going on in the world. And I read this 700-page book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, about the Federal Reserve.
Do you get Griffin?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, there's a handful of people who know about this stuff and are trying to do something to let the other people know about it. But the vast, vast majority of people are they either don't care or it's too overwhelming and they don't want to look at it. They just want to go about their daily lives. Or they think nothing can be done anyway, so why bother? Let me just go out there and get drunk, get high, have a good. And I thought to myself, we're not going to win this battle, and I mean the battle between liberty and tyranny. We're not going to win it if just this small handful of people know about what's going on. So
yeah, and they're counting on that too.
Exactly.
That's what the elites are counting on. And I want to jump on what you were talking about, like aesthetics and stuff. But you think about it, that's why you can say the elites or the Illuminati, a lot, whatever you want to call them, have their hand into Hollywood because they know that imagery and music is very, very powerful. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought I would do what I do best, which is take very difficult subjects that are hard for people to confront and use entertainment, use songs, use comedy even, use it in a way that people would actually find it fun, entertaining, and informative, and they'd sit there and they'd watch a documentary for an hour and a half and walk away instead of feeling like, oh, I can't, instead of feeling nauseous, like they want to slit their wrists and not hear anything more about it, they would actually sit there because of the entertainment value and walk away with some idea going like, oh my God, is that true? And then use my film to go look it up and start finding out for themselves.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It triggers some kind of it goes into their subconscious, you know.
And
they're conscious and they're subconscious. But I think, like I was saying before about Illuminati, this is how they've used. This is the weapon that they've used one of the weapons they've used to dumb down the population is the media. And, through, and not only, it's good to see all of these documentaries being made, but I would really love to see more narrative stories and more, like musicals and comedies and things like this too that are presenting this information, because I feel like, you see a lot of science fiction movies, where people that watch the movies, you think that there's a lot of truth in it, but it's a lot of lies, You can present, you can do it in a way that will present information to people where they will absorb it faster, I think, and in a more, because they're more, porous, they're more open, and, it'll go into their subconscious. It's like, what do you call it, like a barrier lets down. A barrier. You know what I mean? I can't think of the word. I'm like, Anyway, their guard, that's what I'm thinking of. Their guard is let down, and they're more receptive to information, where they're more likely to look at it, or either observe certain things going on in their lives instead of being in denial of it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the whole thing. That's why TV was such a great way for these elite to brainwash everybody, because they knew the entertainment value. Plus, I don't know if it's still the case with the new TVs, but I know when they had the vacuum tubes, not vacuum tubes, the CRTs, and there was a certain frequency that actually put people in a very mild hypnotic state when they would watch it.
Oh, now it's a huge hypnotic state. It's worse now. It's worse.
Wow. Yeah.
You don't watch. I was going to ask. That was one of my questions. I was actually ask you because I noticed that you quoted. It was something. It was like the average American watches approximately 15 and a half hours of television. I'm sorry, 15 and a half years of television in an 80-year lifespan. Right. And I'm just like, did you? I'm assuming you don't watch TV now, but did you watch a lot of TV as a child?
Yeah, in fact, I was brought up when I was born in 1947, and that I think was pretty close to the year TV was invented. And so I was probably the first generation that TV was used kind of like a babysitter,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I did everything in front of the TV. We ate our meals in front of the TV half the time. It was amazing. It was a very bad habit, and I still haven't broken it totally. I like to watch a little bit of TV before going to sleep, but I'm selective. I'll watch a movie or something that I really can get something out of, either entertainment or information. But it used to be, you put it on when you got home and you just let it run all night, which I think a lot of people probably still do. It's,
oh, yeah, they do. My mom does that, and it drives me crazy. I mean, I don't live with my mom anymore, but I know that she does that. She'll go to sleep with the TV on. I personally, I can't go to sleep with the TV on. It really, really bothers me. And I try now that I know how powerful the suggestion is, through the alpha waves and the hypnosis and stuff. I'm really selective about what I watch and also what I allow to myself to listen to when I'm doing something else,
Sure. And I think that's great. I think once you're aware of it, it loses its effectiveness. So
that's true.
Yeah, you'll be watching a show and they say something that you know is a lie, and you don't sit there and go, "Oh my God, is that true?" You'll say, "That's a lie," and it'll register as a lie.
I think that's one of the reasons too. Or one of the main reasons too. I just stopped watching TV is because I was just like, you know, I would go to my mom's house and she'd be watching the news, and I'm just like, God, lie, wow, another lie. And then the commercials would come on. It would be like pharmaceutical ads, McDonald's, Coke. It was just like just a tyranny of television. It was awful, and I was just like, and then I would watch the TV shows, and I would see how they would lie through the narratives. You know, like I saw this. It was one episode of like Law and Order or one of those police shows she was watching, and it was like a mom that didn't vaccinate their child, and they caused an outbreak at the school, and you know, and like one of the children, I was like, I just couldn't believe it. I was infuriated, you know. But
and they just believe this stuff. I mean, my mother, I had the hardest time because there were certain things that I knew from firsthand experience were not true, and she'd see some story on the news that said the reverse, but she'd believe some anonymous person giving the news story out, or who wrote a book that got reported on TV, and that she would believe, but her own son she didn't believe.
Yeah. April and I have talked about that on the show too. Is that like, you know, when you present new information to people, the first instinct is to call you crazy or attack you, as opposed to really trying to see what you're about. Because before that, they know that you weren't a crazy person,
right?
You know, so why you're like, oh, you're like, you know, GMOs are bad. You're a loon, you're a quack, you're crazy. That's conspiracy talk. Like a lot of people, that's their first reaction. But it's like, you know, I had a cousin who just had a baby, and when I found out she was pregnant, I sent her a lot of stuff on vaccination. And then when I saw her, like, at her baby shower, I was like, oh, did you read that stuff? She's like, yeah, we're vaccinating. And I'm like, oh, God. So I know she's a very intelligent woman, but her reason for vaccinating was that she thought that the people that weren't vaccinating were putting other people in danger, and she thought it was very irresponsible. And I was really floored, because I know that was just a very lame, ignorant response from somebody that I know that was really intelligent. And it was very disappointing. And I was just like, okay, but you know me, I'm your cousin, I have your best interest in mind. I've been researching this for 5 years. I sent you a lot of information. But I know she put a lot of time into, like, putting her nursery together, you know, as a lot of people do. So, it was just like, all right, you know. That was really the beginning too of me just being like, okay, I just have to present people with the information and walk away. They're going to do whatever they want with it, you know, and they're going to have to suffer the consequences of their actions later on down the line. And
right.
You know, with the whole vaccination thing, it's like she may not become autistic now, but it's been linked to cancers and all these other autoimmune diseases and stuff. There's nothing nobody ever gets away from being vaccinated. It catches up with you sooner or later, which most people don't know.
That's why probably so many baby boomers are getting cancer, you know, in their older age. I mean, it's amazing. In fact, there's a video people can Google. One of the Merck scientists, doctors.
Marie Silverman, is that one?
Yeah, is that where they were laughing about putting cancer-causing agents into the vaccine?
Yeah, the SB40? Yeah. Oh, no, yeah.
It's amazing, you know, and people think, what they're using is, number one is their thing that they feel strongly about is what you just said, your cousin said, that people who don't vaccinate are putting others in danger. Well, that's the strong argument that they'll call you all kinds of names because of that alone. But then there's the other thing, they say, well, look at all the diseases it cured that don't exist anymore, like polio. Well, that's, as we know, complete bull, because polio, they just changed the name of it. They never got rid of it.
Polio's really complicated, but I mean, as we know, we talk. This is how we came in. To our awakening is through the vaccine and in the medical industry. So it's crap. Sorry.
Yeah. Indeed.
And now the only cases of polio are the ones that are caused by the vaccine.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Bill Gates, what was that, 45 45,000 people in India?
Yeah, in India. They're on, I don't know if it's still going on, but he's on trial right now by or his foundation is on trial through the Supreme Court of India, which is, of course, the mainstream media isn't reporting it, but it's big news, you know. And that's not just for polio, but the Gardasil. I think this one particularly is the Gardasil vaccine, but I think some people are also trying to bring more charges up on him for the polio incident too, that his foundation caused. So,
Yeah,
do you let your children?
Go ahead.
He wants to go on. He wants to what?
He wants to create vaccines, mosquitoes that can vaccinate people. Obviously,
Oh yeah. He's already done that. He's invested. I forgot the name of the company, but they already did a thing in Brazil. They already did like a beta test or whatever, and they sent them out in Brazil for dengue. His thing was we're going to get rid of dengue fever. You know, just want to push him into
a nice guy. Right.
Yeah, if I can push him into a volcano. Well, I shouldn't say that because of the NSA. You know, if he is dead in a volcano, then they're going to come after me. So maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, you're going to watch that. Make it a tornado.
Yeah, right. We always make fun of him and other people on the show that we just loathe. But at the end of the day, we know that like killing them off isn't going to solve anything because there's going to be somebody behind them. So the biggest thing is just to make people aware of what's going on, and then, they lose their power that way. But I'm curious, do you let your children watch TV or?
I don't have any kids.
Oh, why did I think you had children?
I don't know. I used to think I had, but...
next question. Sorry.
I could pretend.
Really I'm so sorry. I didn't do my...
Somehow I got grandkids, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, how about this? If you had children, would you let them watch TV?
I haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about that, but I'm sure if I did let them watch TV, it would be very, very limited, and I would keep a strong watch on what shows they were watching. That's the best I can answer, not having actually gone through it.
Yeah.
That they didn't. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough issue with the kids, watching TV, and it's more nowadays. It's not even so much TV. It's like the video games, and my 12-year-old, that's what he likes to play, the Minecraft and these kinds of things. So it's hard to keep it all away from him. You kind of just have to, like you said, monitor it and ask them questions. Just have plug into your kid and know exactly who they're talking to and what they're doing. Because all these video games, by the way, they're all like social media. They're all social media now. They're all like Facebook in a video game for kids.
I haven't been up on the games situation. Just I know how popular it is, but yeah, I think this kind of, I got two ways of looking at it. On one hand, you don't want them to be so foreign to their friends that their friends say things they haven't got a clue what they're talking about. But I think if I did let them watch whatever it was, I would really, really monitor it and talk about it, like you said, and say, well, so-and-so did so-and-so in this thing. Do you think that was a good idea? What do you think is the outcome of that? What will happen if he does that,
Right.
Yeah.
And so they could at least become critical thinkers when they do see something.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's the best way because you can't protect them from everything,
True.
They're going to go out. They're going to grow up and go out into the world, and then if you constantly try and protect them, then they're this adult that has the mentality of like a 10-year-old in situations where social situations because they've been so sheltered. So that's not healthy either,
Right.
And there's
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say there's this saying, what you resist will persist. So if the more you try to resist it with your kid and restrict them, the more that they're in their mind going, wow, that must be really great. So I really have to go and check that out. They're going to want to do it and find a way to do it without you knowing.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
I was on watching some things. I think, I have a lot of friends, in quotes, on Facebook. And so I see a lot of different postings from a lot of different types of people. And somebody posted a thing that was shot at a Miley Cyrus concert. And I have a little snippet of Miley Cyrus in my film. But this particular thing, I won't even repeat it because it offends me to even say it. I'm just really curious if they let people under 18 go to her concerts. I don't know if they do or not, but it was really, really low class. Like, not just it's no longer sexy. It's like a $50 hooker kind of show.
Right. Yeah. It's not sexy. It's like perverse.
Yeah.
Or perverse. Yeah.
No class whatsoever.
No. No talent.
What age group is allowed in? Because what she was singing, I wouldn't want anybody under 18 to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But me.
Well, going back to talking about your album and your music. So, some of your songs, we've covered some of the issues that maybe you were inspired to write. And what I'm going to start with is how the game works. So, what's this song about? How do you interpret that the game works?
And by the way, that's one of the songs and videos people could see for free. I have about 2 or 3 things that are excerpts from the movie on my YouTube channel that people can see. So if they look up youtube.com/Neal F, just my last initial, then they can see this one we're talking about called How the Game Works. This was basically about false flag operations, and the whole concept of if you want to create a slave society and take away people's freedoms, you have to first make them afraid of everything. You have to make it a dangerous environment. The more dangerous you can make it, the more willing they are to give up their freedoms for a little bit of security, in quotes, because you're not really getting security to begin with. That's what that song's all about. And I guess a lot of your viewers probably know what a false flag is, but in case they don't, basically it comes from a naval operation of taking down your own flag off your ship and putting on the flag of your enemies, and then attacking your own ships and making it seem like the enemy attacked them. So it's a false flag, but this way you get the people to go, my God, so-and-so just attacked us, let's go to war. So that's basically what a false flag is. And whether 9/11 was a false flag or not, I personally think it was, but even if it wasn't, it served the purpose as a false flag, because now, George Bush got everybody to think Iran was the culprit, and we went to war with Iran, and we got the Patriot Act, and we got the NSA, and everybody agreeing to get felt up at the airports and have everybody, even if you're not a criminal, you can have a warrantless phone tap and everything else. So if it wasn't for this attack on 9/11, people would never stand for it, or certainly wouldn't be as willing to stand for it. So now they're perfectly willing to give up everything that the Constitution says we have as inalienable rights, like trial by jury, like not being locked up without a trial, like Bush was making it illegal to assassinate Americans without a trial. All these things people would never stand for, or at least there would be a lot more outrage from the ones that were slightly awake, So that's what a false flag is, and that's what that song is basically about.
Yeah, that's really well said about how the game works, because it is, we've talked about this on the show many times, it's very seldom that the game ever deviates from this narrative, that you create this panic or this fear, and like you said, even if it's not a false flag per se, they can still use it that way. They can still take advantage of the crisis or the chaos and spin it to their advantage. And so that's a really, really good sign. It's a really good way of describing it, because it is a game. It's like a game to them.
Sure.
It's our lives, but
sure. And the beautiful thing though is the way to totally defeat a false flag is for enough people to know what a false flag is, because as soon as they know, then it gets to the point where the next bizarre attack or terrorist attack or whatever it is, more people will not fall into this knee-jerk reaction of, oh, the president says it was Iran that did it, let's go get them, we're going to send troops in and bomb the hell out of them. There won't be as many people ready to just go, yeah, let's go get them. They'll start to question it and say, well, this looks a little fishy. Let's think about it before we send in the troops.
Right. Yeah, there'd be more outrage instead of people just going, just acting in fear of like, oh my God, this terrorist group is here and da-da-da. They'd kind of think about it for a second. Or
exactly.
I suggest, it's like you said, the game has been played so many different times. I mean, even it's thousands and thousands of years old. If you go back and read Sun Tzu's Art of War, it's like pretty much the same, as how they played. And he would say that you can also, you don't even have to draw your sword to your enemy if you can get them to destroy each other. So that's I think I see that a lot in our own movement. Sometimes people fighting and getting angry at one another, which is the whole idea, just to create sort of chaos, and then everybody fights each other, no one gets along. And so it's a plan that's worked and been around for a long, long time. So
yeah, it's been very effective. But thanks to the internet, we're getting the word out to so many more people that. And the other beautiful thing is we don't need a majority of people to know about this. We don't even need a huge percentage. We just need a very small percentage. I'm not sure what the magic number is, maybe 10%. If that many people wake up, then the New World Order folks will lose their power, to such a large extent. And, it'll kind of snowball after a while. But it doesn't take 50% of the people or 51% to be effective and for us to win.
Yeah, for sure. And another song that you have available on your YouTube channel is My Daughter Sleeps, and we did talk about vaccines at the beginning of the show. And so what was, so you said you don't have any children, so what was your inspiration to write that song?
Just my research. I think I read a story about some guy who, it was a true story, it happened to him, where he brought his kid in, or he didn't want, I forget the exact details, but he didn't want his kid vaccinated. I think it was a newborn, very young kid. And the doctors, it was basically the story that they said, well, if you don't let us vaccinate your kid, we'll be able to take the kid from you. It'll be child abuse, and we'll take your kid. And so he let them vaccinate his kid, and the kid almost immediately afterwards was brain damaged. And of course, this, like all these people who are into vaccines, well, there's no proof, how many stories do you need before you get the proof? Anyway, that was the motivation. And then when I wrote that song and started playing it for people on my mailing list, and long before I put it out in the movie, as I was creating the movie, I started to get more and more people telling me that this happened to my kid, or this happened to my nephew, or there are so many people that it happened to that it's really amazing. It's so shocking that and what's really shocking too. I just recently last week put out a blog post that had to do with the whole vaccine thing in California, whether or not there should be mandatory vaccinations and that kind of thing. And people who were writing comments that were pro-vaccine were the nastiest sons of bitches you ever heard. They're just, they say, get your kid vaccinated, you moron. And they won't, the only science that's involved is the science that they know of. You can put study after study. You can put this group of doctors that are against vaccines, or how many doctors won't vaccinate their kids. And I'm sure I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know, but they don't. But boy, what a nasty group of people. They just won't look at anything else. And if you come up with scientific studies, well, that was on YouTube. That can't be true. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah. Well, they of course we know they don't read them. They don't read anything. They don't even read to have the opinions that they have now, because they get them from like Penn and Teller and TV, or they don't read studies. And that's the thing that impressed me. When I first started getting into this, was the fact that people on the anti-vaccination side have done far more research, like by miles. Yeah. than people who are pro-vaccine. And, you know, it even embarrassed me because I was just like, God, look at all of the information that I accepted as true without even looking into it, you know?
Well, you know, that's exactly the way it works, because the people who are pro-vaccine have no desire or reason to look into the vaccine thing. They're going along as the status quo. They are the mainstream people. They're the folks who are right, and they know what's right because their doctors tell them so, and TV tells them so, and their friends tell them so. So they're not motivated to look into it. But when somebody starts to think, gee, you know, this happened to my niece or nephew or my kid, or, you know, maybe it's not okay to give a newborn mercury, you know, when people start to wake up and look into it, they're the ones who are going to find out. They're the ones who are really interested in the truth. So, but the other folks, they're so right, and they just can't afford to be wrong.
Yeah, their ego can't handle it, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we on our YouTube channel, we disable a lot of the comments for the shows that we do about vaccines because of that very reason, because there's such an animosity that comes from the pro-vaxxers. If they're paid trolls or if they're actual just, if that's how they believe, I mean, they're really, really vicious and can say the nastiest things to us.
And even not threatened, you know, we've gotten a few death threats saying that we should be dead, and yeah, it's been really it can get really bad, yeah.
Wow.
It's bizarre. It's really bizarre, and these are the, you know, and I don't understand the logic behind that. If you're the one that's saying you want to protect everybody's life from these deadly diseases, but you want to kill us because we don't, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you want
it's very weird.
Kill us because we're just asking you to look into the subject. Not even, we're not telling you not to take it. We're telling you to just get a little more informed.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
You know, then it's up to you. You know, if you still think taking mercury and aluminum is a good idea, go ahead. It's your body.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But of course, they're giving it to their kids, which is another story.
Yeah.
You know, then they have to be responsible for somebody else's health.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a very, very hot topic right now. Boy, it's amazing.
But, you know, it's good, though, because it's getting people to talk about it and think about it, because there are a lot of people who just probably also went along with it and not really questioned it, you know? So now they're starting to look into it, too, so it's going to get more people. You know, it's the conversation about this is opening up.
Yeah, it's very good.
And, you know, it's interesting, Neal, that as an artist, do you ever feel, or did you ever feel at some point, like, afraid to talk about these things? Like, oh, I'm not going to sell anything. People are going to blackball me. You know, because you seem pretty open and willing to touch some very, very controversial issues.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm not some kind of a ultra brave guy that will bare my chest to the bullets, you know. But my conscience wouldn't let me not say something. I mean, if it's gonna hurt my career or even end up being shot or something or whatever, I mean, there's just no way I could not do it. I can't, you know, not that I don't get nervous sometimes about it, but it's just, I wouldn't want to die thinking I didn't say something and didn't try to make the world a little bit better in any way that I could, you know. I mean, that's our purpose, is to try to help ourselves and our fellow man somehow. Otherwise, you might as well throw in the chips right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that plagues me, too, is that I can't, like, not spread this information that I know, you know, and watch other people suffer. You know, it's still sad when you try and turn people on to stuff and they refuse to look at it and they still suffer. Yeah. But at least you have to know that you tried, you know. It's really up to them in the end.
Yeah, and you have to get a thick skin about it and all that. I mean, I've been called all sorts of names, but I got to the point where I kind of laugh at it. I don't get into any discussions with certain types of people at all. I learned my lesson.
I think we're learning to do that less and less. You can start to figure out people who want to berate you and lambaste you, as opposed to the people that are really open. Yeah, and they want to learn.
And a lot of them have vested interests. I wrote a book a while ago based on a musical I wrote called Meat Street, which would talk about the pharmaceutical and the psychiatric community, you know, what they're doing. This I did about 15 years ago. And what was the point I was Oh, yeah. So I had this book out, and somebody wrote a comment, you know, just kept arguing, and I was saying, look, this is not my opinion. You know, there was like almost every school shooter was on these psychiatric drugs, and it says on the label, can cause violence and suicide. And I was telling her, guns have been around, knives have been around, screwdrivers, video games, violent movies and TV, they've all been around for decades. But in the last 20 years, there's been a huge increase of these particular drugs that actually screw up the chemistry in your mind. They're giving it to people under the lie that says that you have a chemical imbalance and this will fix it. Actually, they don't even know what a chemical imbalance. They don't know what the balance should be in the brain. And nobody who ever was told they have a chemical imbalance in their brain ever had a lab test, because there are no lab tests, because they don't know what they're talking about. It's a theory. Yeah. But they give you this drug which does alter the chemical imbalance. And I was arguing with this person back and forth who kept saying, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. And I'm saying, look at the damn label. It's not me, it's not my opinion, it's the drug companies themselves, and they're not prone to exaggerate the side effects. They're telling you it causes violence. And then I realized at one point, this is a person probably with a vested interest. In other words, and I even said that, and she came back and saying, no, I don't own stock in the drug companies and blah, blah. She didn't understand what I meant by vested interest, which is she might have a kid who she couldn't control, and she gave Ritalin, and now the kid's quiet. Well, yeah, great. So it saved her life. It put the kid on this drug which has the same, pretty much the same chemical makeup as cocaine. And yeah, it shut him up. It didn't cure anything. It just shut him up. It's a chemical straitjacket. So
yeah, it is. Chemical lobotomy.
Yeah, and once they have that vested interest, you're not going to argue with that person. So I learned my lesson on that one too. But it's you got to know who to talk to and how to talk to them, and try not to make them wrong. You know, once you make somebody wrong, they do put on that the guard comes up. You know, because they have to be right no matter what it is.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So if you take that more gentle approach, and it's true. You're right. You just kind of learn to stop engaging with these people, and I've had a similar experience with the same issue. You know, these people that were vested into giving their children these drugs because it caused a desired effect. You know, they were calm and stuff like that, and not looking into, well, maybe they're not calm and not because they were vaccinated, and these are things that are toxic and they have all this toxicity in their body, and so sedating it isn't going to take those problems away. It's just going to kind of quiet them long enough that you can, you know, get your things done. And it's very set up to where people are busy and they're trying to just live their lives normally and they can't, so it's like they just turn to these solutions that they're not solutions, not in the long term anyway.
And I could understand their frustration and why they're so adamant about it if it quote unquote cured their problem, you know.
Right, but it doesn't. It doesn't cure the problem. It just hides the problem temporarily. Yeah. And then usually causes more problems down the road.
It's like aspirin does not cure headaches. What it does is it gives you a disability. It makes you unable to feel the pain as much. But the pain, what causes the headaches, is still there. It didn't cure it. It just covered it up and made you less able to figure out why you have a headache.
Right. And yeah, precisely. So that's what these drugs do. And I had a similar conversation. It's kind of funny. I guess these, you know, vested interests, like you said, in their own personal lives. Either they're taking it or they're, you know, giving it to their kid or nephew or whomever. And but going back to your album and your CD and your DVD, which is really great. I hope that people go out and check it out because this is really, as Virstyne was mentioning before, it's really nice to see somebody put something in a narrative, use their creativity. There's not as much of that going on out there. There are some really good documentaries and people putting, but as you said, you know, sometimes these things, they're very heavy, and you watch them and you're like, oh my gosh, I where's my bottle of aspirin? I want to overdose. It's very stressful, but this is a lot of fun, and it's good to watch, and you're obviously an experienced and very talented musician. So I wanted to, I had spoken to your wife when we were scheduling this, and I corresponded with her, and she'd mentioned that you guys are appearing at several film festivals, which is really, really great. And have you had, what's been the response so far? Has there been any haters, or have you had mostly a positive response?
Well, I tell you, if there were any haters, they haven't spoken up. We have gotten such a positive response that it's been amazing. We did one screening that we were at several months ago before we even had the DVDs out, and after the screening, and there were a lot of people in the audience that I thought, oh, they're going to hate this, because there was like an older woman and some people who looked like they might be very conservative. I don't mean politically conservative, just maybe this is going to offend them, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And when it was over, I got a standing ovation. And and so far, every time we screened it, we had a few pre-screenings around here. Every single time we've screened it, we've gotten a standing ovation, and then we did a Q&A and people asking questions. And for the most part, people are going like, what can I do to help? People wanted to buy the DVDs or get the DVDs for friends before we even had DVD, just so they can have like parties where they show this at their house. And it's been amazing. I haven't had any haters at all. Just standing ovations, which really feels good because it took 3 years to make this. So it feels good that it wasn't a flop.
That's really great. Yeah, our friends we've had on our show before, and maybe you're familiar with Joy Camp or the Joy Camp. They have the YouTube videos, and they do. Are you familiar with them?
I think so. I don't remember exactly.
Well, their stuff is mostly comedy, but they talk about these same types of issues that we deal with, and but they do it in a narrative, comedic format, and it's really great stuff, and it's really a lot of fun. But it's your work and their work, and these people, there aren't that many out there who are doing it this way. So it's really nice, and it's refreshing to see, and that you're also very talented. So I'm glad to hear that, and I think it's more palpable for people that way, as you said. When you're kind of pounding people over the head, with an Alex Jones video or something, they're kind of going, oh, too much, too much. I mean,
exactly, yeah, he's gonna turn off a lot of people. I understand his approach, and I liked it because almost nothing offends me or is too over the top. I could see it for what it is. But I would hear certain things he would say, and I'd go, that sounds interesting. Let me check it out, and then I check out the sources, And so he's very dramatic, so that would offend a lot of people. And that is the main reason I did this, because we do have to get more people to see this. Otherwise, we're all pretty much behind bars. Even if the bars aren't there, we'll be in chemical straitjackets, thinking everything's okay.
Right, precisely. Yeah, taking this down. So, do you have any film festivals that are coming up soon where people can go and attend and see you and meet with you there?
Yes, there's two coming up. Well, the first one I'm not going to be at because we're going to this other one, but in Central Florida, it's called the Sen Flow Film Festival. That's coming up. My film is going to be screened on September 4th. I don't have the exact word. They can look it up online. It's CENFLO Film Festival, and that's in probably around Orlando, Florida. Then the other one, which we are going to, is called the Action on Film Festival, International Film Festival. That's going to be in Monrovia, California, and that's the week of September 26th. The 26th is the actual awards night. They're having a black tie awards ceremony, which is already sold out, and I'm going to actually be performing live there as well as them screening my film a couple of days earlier.
Oh, I had a question too. Have you are you considering subtitling this?
That I thought about that, but that would be so difficult because
I know not yourself, but I mean like maybe getting the funds to do it. It's like in translating it. That's what I'm trying to say too.
Yeah, it'll be a very hard job because what's happening is you've got a lot of times you've got the lyrics in the song happening simultaneously with a headline in the graphic. which happens a lot. So
Yeah.
it might be really, really, and there's a lot of things for them to read on the screen as well. So if they're listening to the lyrics, which are being translated along the bottom, and then also translating the graphic, I think that would be really confusing. So I'm not sure how that would work yet. But if somebody comes up with a good way for me to do it, I'm certainly open to it.
All right. Well, you heard it out there, everybody. You come up with a good way for him to do it, then he's open to it. So, well, we're just about out of time here, but it's been really great, and it's a lot of fun having you on, and I really highly recommend that people go out and buy your DVD and your CD and check it out. Can you please remind everybody how what's your website and the best place for them to purchase it?
Sure. And by the way, they get the CD free if they buy the DVD. So the DVD is, I think it's $19.99 and free shipping at the moment, and they get a free 17-song CD of the soundtrack with that, with all the lyrics in a 24-page booklet. So it's basically you're paying for the DVD, but you get a free CD and a booklet, which I think is a good price. So if they're interested, or even if they're not interested in the DVD, just want to see more about what the whole project's about, and if they sign up for my mailing list, they get 3 free songs and some passwords to some other videos which aren't shown anywhere. That's on the conspiracyproject.org, O-R-G.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been really a lot of fun having you on today. So everybody stay with us. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Virstyne and I will close out the show, but we want you to go check out Neal's work if you haven't already. So it's Neal Fox. And thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, ladies. It was my pleasure.
Until the wonderful people like us introduced vaccinations to Africa, the African children basically were autism-free.
Multiple overseas media outlets have reported on the fact that polio vaccines linked to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and his Gavi Alliance have on record caused nearly 48,000 children in India to suffer neurological damage and become permanently paralyzed. Most recently, over 50 African children from Chad also began convulsing after receiving a Gates Foundation-funded meningitis vaccine.
We believe unbelievable progress can be made, both inventing new vaccines and making sure they get out to all the children who need them.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. There have been widespread concerns that mercury-based preservatives in vaccines might impair the neurological development of children. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
I sit in darkness and I watch my daughter sleep. My beating heart's the only sound. She is so good and kind. She's always on my mind. The only moments that I keep. She hasn't looked at me or heard a word I said. The flame of life's no longer there. I'd give up everything if I could hear her sing. If God would take my life instead. She was a healthy child. She sang and danced and smiled. She called me daddy till that day. I'm all I have to blame. The outcome's all the same. Though she's so close, she's far away. I had some doubts about the science they proclaim. They reassured me it's the law. They said they know what's right. I shouldn't try to fight. I can't ignore that fatal flaw. I told him that we'd better come another day. I had to ease what's on my mind. He wouldn't hear of it, nothing to fear from it. He said, can I afford to be so blind? I said we had to go. He said that I should know. He only had to make one call. He said I was unfit, my daughter needed it. They'd take my child and that was all. I sit in darkness and I watch my daughter sleep.
Everything I'm looking at seems crazy. The newspaper, the television, nothing's right. Nothing's telling me what's true. It's like I fell into a bucket of cream and kicked my legs until I became a mouse. What's that about? I'm a conspiracy realist, not a conspiracy theorist. I want a t-shirt that represents me. What? There's one that's available? Go to shop.truthertease.com, says the voice in my head. Shop.truthertease.com. It's not crazy. I'm not afraid to go on the internet and go to shop.truthertease.com. I'm not scared. I've taken out bowling balls that look like you. That's what I said. Straighten out. Get your conspiracy realist t-shirt. Don't make me come over there. You look good.
You're welcome back. Good. Thanks for listening to Truth or Talk.
Hey, we just finished interviewing Neal Fox. That was great.
Yeah, we did. That was awesome. And yeah, like we were saying during the intro, it was really cool. We had the opportunity to talk to our first musician, our professional musician, other than Max E, and he is a professional musician. But
yes, I brought that up.
Yeah, but we do have. But we haven't had anybody who really, I guess, writing songs about the subject. Yeah, exactly.
We have Max, and we didn't talk about his music. We talked about other things, but he just happens to be a musician, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really cool, and we were really fortunate to bring him on the show and learn about his work and get involved with that. So I was really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And I'm hoping that. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're hoping that?
We can get more of that. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I ditto.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you told me that he reached out to you. Could you check the message? And she's like, I have this guy that reached out, or, you know,
yeah.
Like he did this musical, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Like, I'm so glad he reached out to us. It was really great.
No, it was really good. Yeah, and it was really good. It was his wife. She, I guess, does his bookings for his media and stuff, and she sent me a message. So, and they're doing. I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff around. They're involved in many film festivals, so people can go look at his website. And Neal Fox is the name. You can go look him up on YouTube and find out where they're going to be.
And it's spelled Neal.
Yeah, Neal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find those guys and see what they're doing, because you can go check them out at one of these film festivals. You can watch, get one of his DVDs, but you can watch some of them for free on the YouTube. And so it's a free CD, and it's a DVD and a free CD, and it's like $20. It's a pretty good deal. And if you're not going to get material like that from any other places, not that I'm aware of. I'd like to know about more, but I don't at the moment. So, but yeah, he's great.
So, I mean, what do you think? Because I told him, I don't remember if I told him on air or off air, that I think that it would be a good, his product would really be good for homeschoolers, for people that want to homeschool, because they'll be open to this information, you know?
I think so. I mean, it would be a good way to kind of bring that to kids. Sure, you know, if you have in your curriculum music, or if you have in your curriculum, you know, film, media, things like that, you're doing, you know, sometimes we do documentaries, we watch movies, and just cause, you know, whatever subject you're working on, you can just watch something and find it applicable, then certainly, absolutely. So, I mean, some people might be opposed to that. They're like, oh, I don't want to watch movies, that's cheating. Whatever your teaching style is
I guess so. I mean, I just think, I mean, I don't know, it just kind of annoys me when people say that, in a sense, because I know, you know, I think that people need to, like, admit that we have learning styles and ways of receiving information, you know, and at the current moment, you know, the current learning style, the current way that people are receiving information is through technology, through television or podcast or, you know, things like that. Sure. So just books aren't like, I think people have this idea, if it's not in a book, that it's not a valid way of receiving information. You know, you get those phones that are like, you post stuff, you post a lecture from a doctor that went to Stanford, and then they'll just be like, oh, well, that's not valid information because that's a YouTube video. I'm like, it's lecture. Get off it, you know? Like, all that, you know, cheating. So it's like, and you know, that's a little bit too. It's a very, you know, reading is a very Western ideal, because a lot of the indigenous cultures, they use their minds, you know, to record information, and they use it. They listen, and they use, you know, maybe mnemonics or whatever. But they, you know, they don't really write things down. A lot of places they've been able to retain a lot of information that way, you know.
Yeah.
So for sure. You know, it's not, the books don't, like, it's not set, it doesn't set it in stone, or set it in stone that that's the only way to receive valid information, you know.
No, not at all. And so but I mean, that's just certain people's preference or whatever, I don't know. But I mean, we do it here, and I don't find it cheating. And I think, you know, a lot of kids do learn better that way. It just depends on the kids. Some actually prefer to read, and that's their deal, but it's just... But, you know, yeah, I think that it would be a great opportunity to have homeschoolers watch some of this stuff. Some of this stuff is very palpable for homeschoolers. It just depends on the kid, and it depends on their interest, you know, especially if they're into music. Absolutely. That would be great for them.
And you have a lot of great imagery as well.
Yeah. So I think that that's kind of where we're going with a lot of our materials, that we want to see people reach out to homeschoolers and try and get into that area, because I think when you get into this and you're trying to teach people, a lot of times you get into this, oh, I'm preaching to the choir, everybody who I offer this information to either they already know, and maybe they understand it, but they're not really changing their life or anything to do anything about it. Some people are, and some people aren't really moving forward, and and then you get kind of stuck in a rut. But if we reach out to, and this is not to say like give up on adults, like forget about them, you know. It's just saying that it's a good opportunity to get kids when they're young, and when they're at a certain age, and they can start to retain this information better. They're more open-minded to it, and you know, and if the parents are, and if the parents want to teach that to their children, then by all means they should, and it's great. It's funny, and it's playful, and it's entertaining, and it's not going to bore them to tears. You know, I think anything that doesn't bore a kid to tears is what they're going to remember the best. You know, so And that's whatever it is that whatever avenue it is that they like the best. If they like visual, if they like audio, if they, like to read, whatever doesn't bore them to tears, just hook it up. And so some kids get, and now everybody's a lot of stuff on computer, and but if that's how they retain the information, then that's fine too. I don't judge anybody for using whatever program they want, but so that would be great. I would love to see him get involved in that, and some of these other people that I've talked to about doing that as well. We had when we had Chris Emery on, we suggested they try it with their film, see if they can reach out to that population. And I kind of when we bring that up
as well.
And when we bring it up to people are always like, "What? Yeah!" Like most people haven't thought of it before. But I had the idea because when I went to that homeschool conference, they showed the film Class Dismissed, which was a film about homeschooling, and it was a documentary done about homeschooling. And I thought, well, if you just had a documentary to show, then couldn't you just show up and then and then just give people a free screening and then sell the DVDs afterwards? Or if you had a book to sell, and then they had a bookstore that was inside the conference area. They had the vendors, and they had one lady who owned a brick and mortar, real, not just an online store, bookstore, and she had, most of her stuff there, and she had a bunch of books on vaccines. And I was like, oh, snap, like these people are hip, like they know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and I talked to her, she came over to me and was like, oh, can I help you, and this and that. So we ended up talking, and she was totally cool and just, aware of a lot of the stuff that we were doing and really open to learning more about the vaccine issue. And she was like, yeah, I thought that was an issue with my daughter, and she was a veteran homeschooling mom. She was much older than me, and she was like, yeah, and her daughter was an adult, like in her 30s or 40s by this time, and because I think she said she was a new grandma. And so we were talking about all that, and she was writing down the names of the books I was recommending. Oh, I'm going to go get that. I'm going to go get that. And I thought, wow, they really should be selling these books here. Suzanne Humphrey's book and Liam's book. Liam's book's very palatable for anybody, especially young people would really, really appreciate that and get into that. So I thought these books should be here, and then selling to these people who are open-minded like that and not already set in their ways and think they know everything. Just kind of build that,
People are lame.
Expose it to them. Yeah, right. Just give them the exposure, and then they can do whatever they want with the information. But give them the exposure. Let them see all the different sides of it and history, and all of that. And Jamar's book, for example, about JFK. They can get that other side of it. So, we watched JFK. My son and I had him watch it, but he was bored to tears with it. He wasn't interested at all, but, it was, he just didn't.
He might appreciate it when he gets older.
Well, when I saw it, I was much older. I was 19, 20 when that movie came out.
You'll probably revisit it and really like it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
When he gets older.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, it's in their own time, and when they're ready to receive the information. But but in music, like if I showed him Neal's film, he might be more interested in that, and because it's humorous, and even if he just gets a few of the songs, just showed him a couple of the songs on YouTube and things like that, he might be into that. So for sure, I hope that people start looking into that trend and kind of thinking outside the box, And I was thinking that I think I brought that up to Clint Richardson one time. I said you should be teaching, you should write unit studies, or be teaching at lectures and this natural law and stuff at homeschool conferences. Because why? Because the homeschoolers are already hip to that stuff. And they already kind of know about those sort of things. And because I talked to them with regards to the stuff here in California about the whole vaccine law and the vaccine mandate bill that went through. A lot of people were talking about on that level of about natural law and stuff, and birth certificates and how when you sign off your birth certificate and you're being owned by the state and so on and so forth. They on that level, and they're not in the, quote, truther community, they're homeschoolers, and they're in that community, but they get it. They already know about that stuff. And so I'm thinking you could teach that on a higher level to people who either they don't know or they know, but they don't know the full depth of it, and they want to know more. So just get it teach it to, high school aged kids or above, or to the parents to then pass on the information to the kids. So I would think that kind of stuff would be very well received and embraced. But,
yeah.
But who knows? Everybody's just doing what they can. So.
Plus, I think once that law goes through, the vaccine law goes through next year, it's going to be more people are going to be homeschooling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So
they're going to
market's going to get even larger, which is great. Yeah. Like I think we've talked about some show before where we just kind of got to the point. Yeah, of course we don't want it to be mandatory, but at the same time, maybe this would be a wake-up call, because I think it's opened up a lot of people's eyes to how corrupt the system really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And then, yeah. And it because you kind of got to ask yourself, like, if it's so great, then why do they have to force it so hard?
Yeah.
Why is it such a big deal if your kid's vaccinated and mine's not?
Yeah.
Why are you worried? People start to ask these very basic logical questions and they might not be anti-vaxxers at all. They just don't.
Yeah.
And then that makes them want to look into it.
Yeah,
and that's
for
where
sure.
they're kind of curious about it. Like, well, what? I don't get it. Why are we doing this?
I have a friend that wasn't really into vaccines, and he saw like how hard they were pushing it, and it made him be like, what the fuck? Like, why are they pushing it so hard?
Right. So sometimes it can go in the reverse. It really absolutely can. That happened to my father-in-law when the whole thing a few years ago was going on with Andrew Wakefield. And he knew, that I had some questions about the vaccines, and they were kind of already into natural health for many, many years, since, their youth in the 1970s and 60s. And he was, but then when all that was going on, he was like, God, this has got to be a cover-up, because why are they going after this guy so hard? And why are they trying to, like, make him look like it's like name-calling and vicious attacks. Why can't they just hear the guy out? Why can't they, like, let him finish his sentence? You know what I mean? Like, it was things like that. He was just like, what? It's like turning me off. It's making me think that they got something to hide. And so, and then the other lady that I interviewed who did the door-to-door vaccination, the woman who, she was on all those videos when they showed these people a few years ago in Natomas, California. There was a school that started going door-to-door to vaccinate kids who were behind on their shots. And one of these kids she was in one of those kind of independent studies, which is like schooling. It's basically schooling at home. It's not really homeschooling. It's you get the curriculum from the school and then you do it at home. And so, but it's like it's basically, she's not in the herd. So there's no reason for her to have herd immunity. It was like stupid. So they came to her house anyway to get her up to date on her shot, and they had like the nurse standing there with the shot and everything. It was gross. And the mom just slams the door in his face and she's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And it was awesome. Everybody was like, "Yeah!" All the anti-vaxxers were like, "Oh my God, that mom's awesome." So, but I found out about it. Her daughter actually contacted me, and so when I spoke to her, her concern was basically very practical. It was the reason why she wasn't doing it. It didn't have anything to do with her, researching heavily into vaccines. It didn't have anything to do with her researching, on the dangers of them. She just thought, like, I don't get why they're pushing it so much. It's like, she goes, it used to be you got one shot and you were done. Now it's like, oh, you got to keep getting them over and over again. She's like, now it's like that H1N1 thing. She goes, they were pushing that so hard, and I didn't trust that, and then now they're pushing this thing again. And she goes, so I looked into it, and it turned out that this whole whooping cough outbreak was mostly involving the people who were already vaccinated. So I thought, why am I going to give this to my daughter? I don't get it. And it was just very practical reasoning. It just didn't. And when I spoke to her, she was just like blown away, by all the stuff that I was telling her. And she thought, wow, holy crap, that I had no idea it was as bad. But I thought on a practical level, it didn't make sense to me. And so I think there's more people like that than the media will have you believe. They want you to feel like you're all alone, and you're not.
The thing that's struck me these past 2 months is I think that the people that are deciding not to vaccinate is higher than they're telling us too, because this is why they're panicking.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, even though there's still some people that are closed, I don't know if it's just like a law of attraction or whatever, but I just feel like the people, even people maybe that aren't really awake, so to speak, they're more open to having these conversations now than before.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, so, well, anyway, we're going to take off and sign up, but we want to thank Neal Fox for being on our show today, and you can check us out at truthortalk.com. Till next time, peace, truth, and love, y'all.
Peace and love you guys. Bye-bye.